Tim, you've recently been reported as saying that Christians should calm down in the face of what would seem to be an increasing intolerance of the Christian faith. So my question is, should Luke and Carla Burrell, publishers of White, the wedding magazine, forced out of business for failing to promote same-sex marriage, should they calm down? Should Joshua, the uni student, suspended for daring to pray, should he calm down? And what about the Melbourne IT specialist, fired for privately expressing concerns about the Safe Schools program? Should he calm down? What do we do?
So,
Tim, that's especially yours.
thank you. I was speaking to my mob, the Christian mob. I would also say to some on the hard secular left, they should calm down. And I think I paraphrased Jesus, who said, turn the other cheek. My paraphrase was, calm down and suck it up. And by that, I'm saying we've just elected our first Pentecostal Prime Minister who could pray openly for 6 minutes at Hillsong and talk openly about his faith. This notion that we're victimised, we're persecuted. I'll show you real persecution in my World Vision work where Christians really are suffering. But to your question, I do think there are real issues around freedom of religion. I think freedom of religion is actually good for society. Freedom of Muslims, Jews, Buddhists, Christians to actually run institutions, have schools, charities that express their vision of flourishing is good in a democratic society. And I do think there are loopholes. I know in New South Wales that you can be sacked because of your religion. An employer can say to a woman wearing a hijab, you're scaring the customers, you're fired. I think that's not on. I think to go to what's behind your question, that Christians should be working this out sensibly, because I think there's a lot of victim claiming and we're persecuted, which is overreach. I think there are solutions. If I criticise left and right, and I try and say, I try not to go left or right, I try to say go deeper, I think left and right want to keep the war going often, and overreach and hysteria keeps the war going. In the middle's us, the exhausted middle who want to compromise and live together. And I think we can find solutions to this. I do blame social media in part, which actually says, you disagree with me equals you hate me, and I'm going to hate you back. I think overborne statements from my mob, Christians saying we're now persecuted, though there are real issues, don't help in that sense of the culture wars going on, and to find compromise and acceptance.
Tim, the other part of your quote, I think, in that calm down, Jesus didn't go around demanding legislation to protect his rights. Kimberly, do you think we need legislation to protect religious rights, freedoms?
Well, the government is proposing legislation and we're still waiting to see it. I think they're working through their backbench to come up with what I think is going to be a minimalist model. I don't actually know, but I think that's what it seems like. One of the reasons this is so difficult, I think, is, Eric and I were actually both on the Senate Select Committee for Same-Sex Marriage, where we started to look at these issues. We then had a Ruddock review because, in fact, it became very difficult to really, in the time allotted for the inquiry, to come to a point where we could solve these issues. And in fact, you can see now that this inquiry, the Ruddock review, was released rather belatedly last year, but it's taken some time. We're now in July, soon to be August, and we still don't really have anything. We then had a religious freedoms inquiry in one of the Senate standing committees. That also didn't really come to any view, and in fact one of the recommendations was to go to the Law Reform Commission, and that was around students and teachers, so Section 37 of the Sex Discrimination Act particularly. But I do think that from the evidence that committee heard, that there are people who really do feel that they cannot express their view. I don't think it is helpful to look at this in some dialectic where you've got, people looking for certain rights, their rights to be protected against other people. We live in a society where, dare I say it, thank God, we do have a contest of rights. And we are very lucky to live in a society where we do have that. So we are not as Asia Bibi in Pakistan.